And welcome to Full Time Score with your host TC Ramohwase as well. This is episode number 5. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, man. This week we're going to be talking about the CAF Champions League and the CAF Confederations Cup, respectively. Our three teams winning all three of their games this past weekend. One game really emphatic. Two of the other games very close games. But there was one historic game on Saturday night that really will take most of the emphasis on today's video. But of course, we have to give credit to all three teams. That's been Amazulu and Mamelodi Sundowns and Orlando Pirates, who performed very well at the continental stage for South Africa. Something we haven't seen much. A lot of our teams don't normally perform well on the continental stage for one or other reason. But Sundowns have done very well the past 5, 6, 7 seasons since they won it. And now it's good to see that it's infiltrated into Amazulu and Orlando Pirates. Last season, Kaizer Chiefs went to the final. So it's good to see the improvement from South African clubs on the continent. That's just a general theme. But obviously, we're going to be talking about each team or each match individually for the next 10 to 15 minutes. Starting off with what I always usually say, thank you for watching again. Episode 5, we're getting it rolling. The content is still there, it's still fresh, it's still coming on. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing on your WhatsApp statuses. Thank you for sharing with your friends. I appreciate that. Keep subscribing. I'll keep bringing the content as much as I can. Starting off with the CAF Confederations Cup, that's Orlando Pirates. They will bring up against Royal Leopards from Eswatini, aka Swaziland, on Sunday night. In one football match, you get to see the good and the bad of Orlando Pirates. 10 minutes, they were 2-0 down against a team that isn't very strong as compared to Orlando Pirates. And in that 10 minutes, I saw what's actually wrong with Pirates, what's always been wrong with Pirates. Defensive errors, with Pirates, it's always like that. There's always individual defensive errors or individual goalkeeping errors, as we've seen in another match before this one. The goalkeeper messes up and they concede, especially when they play stronger opponents where they can't actually attack them. But in this case, credit where credit is due. There were two defensive errors, in my opinion. First goal, they gave like a way too much time. And then he took a shot across. And then someone stuck, I think it was Happy J, stuck his foot out, hit his foot in, goes in 1-0. Second goal, I think Happy J, again, more errors from him. Guy scores the goal 2-0. In less than 10 minutes, Royal Leopards are 2-0 up. But the difference between this game and other games is that the opponents that Pirates are playing, let's just be honest, they're not exactly the world's strongest opponents. Now, with that said, you play what's in front of you. But not only do you play what's in front of you, in my opinion, you have to beat what's in front of you. And that's exactly what a lot of Pirates did. They outplayed them and they beat them. And Pirates got 6 goals. It'll help with their goal difference. Going forward, who knows, it might be affected at some point in the tournament depending on how results go. But it's good to see that they actually knew how to kill off a team emphatically. Bandile Shandu is playing well for a right back, scoring goals for Pirates, very well. I don't know if he's a natural right back. I don't think he is. But look, man, he's playing in the form of his life currently. He's one of the top scorers at Orlando Pirates from right back. Tells you something. Also, the way they played Orlando Pirates. Started passing it about, ball in the feet, started knocking it about. Lodge looked good. Pepra looked very good. Goodman himself, I think, has had a very good season so far. When Pirates play well, he's always been on song. It was good to see for Orlando Pirates. And this week they've got a game on Wednesday, then they've got the derby, so it's derby week technically. So to score 6 goals, regardless of who you score it against, that's a confidence booster, and I'm happy for them. But they've got a long way to go. I'd like to imagine that one of the things they need to sort out, whether it's getting a coach, it's a coaching decision, whether a coach comes in and coaches or you fix it, but the backline needs to be sorted out going forward. If they actually want to make some noise in the PSL and trophies and wherever they want to go, the first thing they need to do is get someone to fix the defense. It's either they get a new defender or they get a new coach, something. That's the first basics. Number 2, goalkeeping. Again, it's either they're going to go out, get a new goalkeeper coach, or go out and get a new goalkeeper and say, yo, man, look, this is your shirt. Because Pirates have struggled with the goalkeeper since the passing of Senzo Mahigo. They have struggled. Even till today, they're still struggling. And it doesn't seem to be getting better. And what's really surprising me for a big football club, they're not seemingly investing in a new goalkeeper. I don't know what's happening. They got Ofori. I think Ofori is injured. Wayne Sutherland is past it. Mponchani, for me, he's never really been of Orlando Pirates keeper quality. When you think about the level of goalkeepers Orlando Pirates have had, William Opar, Monip Josephs in his prime, After that, he had Senzo Maiwa. Unfortunately, his career got cut short. I mean, you think about those three goalkeepers that I've just mentioned, and then you see what they've got now. They need a proper goalkeeper. They need to invest in a guy with talent and push him through. Because unfortunately, and this is the last thing I want to point out, goalkeepers, you're not going to find a 20-year-old excellent goalkeeper. It's rare. Kuna was a rare thing. Senzumeyiwa was a rare thing. Ronan Williams was a rare thing. You need to go with goalkeepers, they get better over time. Sundowns are benefiting from waiting for Dennis Onyango to come get better over time. Mueni, over time. Mueni is almost 40, and he's still excellent. Goalkeepers get better over time. So that's sort of our Pirates. They won their match 6-2 against Royal Leopards from Eswatini in the CAF Confederations Cup. Now let's talk about another team that's doing quite well. That's Amazulu. They've won 32 games. They played 1-2, lost one. And the one they lost was a 1-0 win away to Raja Casablanca, a notoriously difficult place to go play. But they managed to get a 1-0 loss. And they came back. They were feeling quite confident. Then they won the next match 1-0. And now they've won another game 1-0 against their ES Satif. So with Amazulu, I've always felt, and I'm probably going to re-emphasize this going forward in the videos, that you don't want to win CAF Champions League playing football expensively. You don't want to win in African football with an expensive game, because African teams, particularly North African teams, they are very, very, very compact, very direct football teams. And we as South Africans generally are not a very technical nation when it comes to football. We get one or two very good technical players. You can mention Atiko Mudise, René Lotsolenya. But generally, we're not a very technical football nation in terms of our players. And that works against us when we play those guys, especially when we play away. Now, Benny McCarthy has always been a structured coach. Since he took over Amazulu, he's always been structured defensively. They want to play on the counter, they'll exploit the little space here, and they make it very difficult for you to score against them. That's the way I believe CAF Champions League is won. You saw this with Kaizer Chiefs last season. They were very difficult to score against. They would wait for one or two opportunities, they would score, and then they would defend. And that's the way you win CAF, in my opinion. That's the way you're going to make it from a South African perspective. If you want to really do well in CAF, you need to do that. Be robust defensively, catch them on counter attacks or set plays or whatever. That's the only way I foresee you winning it. It's good to be expensive. There are teams that you can be expensive against, but not all the teams. And Benny McCarthy has got the balance right so far. And that's why he's got two positive results. Yes, I'll criticize one thing. They don't score enough. They miss. They miss. They miss. Amazulu miss goals. I think Benny McCarthy even mentioned it at halftime or rather post-match. Like, we miss goals. Mulenga missed. Mulenga rounded the keeper and he still missed. And there were other chances they still missed. And if you're going to really go forward in a tournament like CAF Champions League, what if they meet Al Ahly or Wydad Casablanca, one of the very, very stronger teams? They've already met another strong team in Raja Casablanca. Those teams won't give you chances like that. And those teams, when they create chances, they might bury them. So you need to learn how to bury your chances. But so far, so good with Amazulu. I've been impressed at how they've approached this tournament. I do have that one concern of goal scoring. They don't score a lot. Hopefully, Benny McCarthy will sort it out as the tournament progresses, because so far, so good. Also, another thing I'll be worried about with Amazulu, unlike maybe a Sundowns or even a Pirates, they don't have a huge squad. So they don't have a lot of players they can just go find and just stick into the team anytime they want. That could be a problem. We're talking about depth. They've got a lot of quality players. They've managed to really, really be smart in the transfer market to really get players that other teams didn't want. Luvuyo Mamela as an example. I don't know why he was let go. Another Mulenga is another example. They've picked these players up. They've combined them into a decent squad. But now when you look on their bench, generally they don't have backup best of all. So going forward, fatigue starts taking effect. They played 3 games. They still have to go away for a few more games, They still have to go to Oroya, if I'm not mistaken. They still have to go to Satif again. I think that's in Tunisia. Over time, how's that going to affect them? The travel, the team play, and then they keep coming back. They've got Nedbank Cup, they've got the league right here in South Africa. And you can see the fixtures are piling up. I saw Sundowns' fixture list, something like 5-6 games in the next 2 weeks. And I'm sure also Amazulu have a similar schedule where they'll probably be playing about 4 or 5 games in 2 weeks or something like that. How are you going to manage that with a smaller squad? That's the only concern. But overall, I'm pretty happy with Amazulu. The way they played against ES Satif, they showed that to the home team. They did create the chances, made it difficult for them to score. Once they got into good positions in terms of the counter-attack, exploited spaces, a few one-on-ones here. As I said, they could have scored more. They didn't, but I was impressed with how they're coming up about it, and I foresee them going into the next round. I'm not sure how far they'll go, but I'd like to imagine that they will probably make it to the quarterfinal stage at a minimum, the way they are right now. So that ends the two segments. Now let's move to the big one. So we had a historic match between Sundowns and Al Ahly. I think with Al Ahly, whenever they play, whether it's Al Ahly under 12, under 15, under 16, Al Ahly is a huge football club. And I have to say, before I say anything on the game, I'm happy that we finally have such full access to the CAF Champions League. Like on Saturday, I've turned on the television and I saw like 3 or 4 different games playing on different channels on television. I was like, yes, we want to see this CAF Champions League like this. We want to see. I don't even care. I don't even know those teams. Some of them, obviously, we know. I saw a game between, I think, Zamalek and Wydad Casablanca and other games. But I was happy to actually have full access to CAF Champions League because now we can really start seeing the greatness of the tournament as a South African. Because it was a tournament that was always hidden and strange and foreign to us. But it's not. It's an African tournament played by African teams. And it seemed foreign because of the limited access. But now we've got access. Now we can finally find it and relate to it. And I think we can now start seeing the greatness of Al Ahly. And hence it goes back to my point. Whenever Al Ahly play, it's always going to be a big football match. Whether it's under 12, under 15, under whatever, it's always going to be a huge game for them. Because it's Al Ahly. They're the Real Madrid of this continent. They're the Liverpool of African football. They are, whatever team you want to throw in there. They are that for this continent. They are the standard. They are the gold standard. And if you want to win CAF Champions League, you have to go through Al Ahly. You have to go to Tunis. You have to go to Egypt, in Cairo, and you have to win there in order for you to go to the next level as a football team or as a football club. And that's exactly what Sundowns kind of did on Saturday. Let's talk about the game in itself. Very, very tightly contested game. Tactically, both sides brilliant. Let's talk about the home team, Al Ahly. Direct play, as always. Mohamed Sharif started the game. They looked to try and use the width, try and get crosses in. They felt maybe Sundowns on the wings, because Sundowns play with their wings back so much. They probably thought they can exploit the spaces, try and at least get a space there and try to put crosses in for Sharif and all the guys to finish up. And they looked at probably their height as well. They're very strong in the air, the Egyptians. It didn't really quite work out for them. Hence, Pitso just swapped it first half time. He brought in Pitso, pacey guy. He was trying to say running behind them because they know Sundowns' defense, as good as they were and as good as they can be, they don't have the pace. And they generally play a high line. For some reason, they didn't play a high line on Saturday, but I'll get to that. So Pitso felt maybe Pacey can make the runs in behind and try get a few one-on-ones or create opportunities running into the space behind the defensive line, which it didn't happen. Pacey had a few chances. The one was a clear offside. It was a meter offside. After the match, Pitso was like, no, it's not offside, but it was offside. I saw it. It was clear from the replay. I even saw a picture of it from the side angle. It was offside. It was offside, unfortunately. But I'll say that Al Ahly played quite well. They had chances. Kennedy Moyene saved Sundowns a few times. Credit to him. Man of the match performance by Kennedy Moyene, by the way. Al Ahly, they would be disappointed that they were not very clinical, but they didn't play badly, I felt, because they did create chances. And they defended quite well for most part of the game. So I felt unlucky. They could have got a point from that match. At the very least, they could have got a point. And for them to concede in the last minute, in the 87th minute, very, 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 very shocking. Honestly speaking, very, very shocking for them. But it's football, and I'm sure they probably figured, you know what, it wasn't our day, and it wasn't their day. It literally wasn't their day. It was Sundowns' day, which leads me to Sundowns. First of all, for Sundowns, I questioned them on a previous video saying, you won't win African football playing expensive football. Last season, Sundowns went there, and they tried to pass Al Ahly out of the match, and it didn't work. And Al Ahly scored 2 goals. Yes, one of them was a goalkeeping error, but Al Ahly outplayed them and outsmarted them. This season, Sundowns did what I felt they should have done last season, and that's go there and sit deep and wait for the chance. And that's exactly what Sundowns did. Most Sundowns fans feel like that's not a Sundowns performance. What? I'm telling you now, it to me was the best Sundowns performance on the African continent that I've seen in a long time. My reason for that was it was smart tactical play. It was smart, tough tactical play. Sitting back deep And trying to exploit the space is not an easy football match to do. People think it's the easiest thing to do. It's not. It's very, very difficult, especially when you don't do it all the time. Sundowns are not a team that sits back and tries to wait for the counter attack, but they did it, and they actually got it right in most parts. Andile Jali cancelled Dieng out of the game. Him and Dieng had a go at each other. They cancelled each other out. I felt Sundowns' midfield was just lacking a bite going forward. Mugwena was quite too deep for me. It was very deep. So it made it very difficult for him to be influential when Sundowns got the ball. They needed someone maybe just to make one little run, play a pass maybe to the side or into Timbers on his feet who can maybe turn and look for Sharuli. It was very difficult there because, as I said, Jali was cancelling Dieng, and the other midfielder, Mgwena, for me was slightly anonymous. But he played okay, but he was slightly anonymous. You get me? In the back line, I mean, Brian Oyango takes a lot of stick from Sundowns fans on social media. Brilliant play. Hossein Duruk, I think, is the best centre-back in this country. Well played by him. I spoke about the keeper, Moene. Man of the match, 10 out of 10 performance. Really, really good. He made some errors. He did make some errors, but those will happen in the game. But he did always cover himself up covered by his defense when he did make errors, which is part of it, which is part of the game. So yeah, man, I think all's well that ends well, I guess, if you're a goalkeeper. And yeah, he played quite well. Right back, Khuliso Modao. Him and Bandile Shandu should easily be fighting for the Bafana right back spot. We'll talk about Bafana because the coach has to select the team at some point this month of March, the coming month of March. But when players play like that, at that level, it's hard for a coach. There's no reason a coach should ignore them. I don't care what you say, young players, whatever narrative the coach seems to be on. I think Bandile Shandu on form, Khuliso Modao, especially after playing against Al Ahly like the way Khuliso Modao played, those two should be the players that are the right backs for Bafana in the next international round. Anyway, back to the game. Sundowns played quite well. The only thing about Sundowns that I was disappointed was with that they were not quick and clinical in exploiting spaces and chances. Half spaces, half chances need to be quickly exploited if you're going to play deep, especially away from home against a quality side like Al Ahly. And Sundowns didn't do that quite well. They didn't pass it too quickly. And when they got a chance, they didn't really bang it in. They got 3 or 4 chances that they could have, played in. Shalile turned defenders a couple of times. When he turned them, he'd run in and he'd look on his right or left, no options. Same thing as Modao. There was a run he made in the first half and he just crossed it to no one. It happened too many times, and in that space, it causes problems because had Al Ahly scored, Sundowns would have been in trouble because they were not going to score again. But the thing that I think worked, Jali unfortunately gets injured. They had to bring in Hashim Domingo. I thought that was a smart move because it would have been easy to say, hey, let's bring in Mvana just to keep it tight. But then they were smart by saying, let's bring in Hashim Domingo, who's more attacking. And Domingo's influence in that 10-15 minute spell he played was very good because he was the one who grabbed the ball and did the thing I thought Mugwena should have done. And let's take the ball and look for the forward pass and look for the forward progressive play. And then he started doing that. He started seeing Timbers on and slightly get more influence in the game before they took him off. And they're like, okay, cool. Sundowns looked a bit better. They attacked. There were a few more attacks. They looked a bit more positive. Zwane went off. I felt he didn't have a great game, which is okay. It's not his fault. Tactically, he was out. And I keep saying this. If you're an opponent and you see Themba Zwane running into his own half and collecting the ball at his feet, facing his own goalkeeper, facing Kennedy Moen or Dennis Onyango, then you've done half the job in terms of defensively. Then you're doing a good job as an opponent. And you should smile because you don't want Zwane in the final third facing your keeper and Shalila's running, Khuliso Modao's running, or Gaston Serino, whoever's playing with him, they're all running for it and Zwane has the ball at his feet. You're in trouble because he's too good. So when they hooked him, I felt it's a good hook, good move, because he wasn't as effective. He was most of the time playing in his own half. But that was part of the game. That was the tactics. But he could not find him and Shalile were too isolated. The gap between Zwane and Shalile was too much. And they were the two most advanced players in the game for Sundowns most of the game. So they really, really, really couldn't get him in the game. Now, when they took him off for Taparam, I felt it's quite clear what they want to do. They're going to try to pump it forward and try to run the defense. It's also the same thing Pitso was using in terms of trying to exploit the space behind. And that's what Sundowns actually kind of did. Yeah, fine. There was an element of luck in the goal. Second ball, not clear or not well cleared. Shalile Chapset gives it to Morena. Morena hits a thunderous shot. I felt could have been saved near pole. I mean, Mohamed Al-Shar is a world-class keeper. In my opinion, he should have saved that. I don't know what he's doing. His hands are behind his back. Ball passes through. I don't know what was happening there. But you know what? Credit where credit is due. Sundowns deserve a win. They deserve points. They got the 3 points. They got away with it. And now, for them, they've shown another side to them. They've showed a gritty, smarter, tough side to them. And that's a message to any team in the tournament to say, look, Sundowns aren't a one-way team. In the PSL, they play one way. They dominate position, they press position, or they press without position, they win the ball back, they dominate position, they pass it about, and then they score as much as they can. In CAF Champions League, they don't work, not all the time, particularly when you play good opponents like Al Ahly, Wydad Casablanca, Raja Casablanca, maybe Esperance if they're still around. Those types of teams, you will not beat them playing expensive passing football. You need to be smart. And Sundowns, for me, what made me happy was to see that second phase of them, that other side of Sundowns, the darker side, if you want to call it that, the pragmatic side. We love the Brazilian champagne football, Shushan and piano football. We love that. We've been seeing that throughout Sundowns' history. But to win this tournament, you need to have this different side of it. They went to the darker side of football, to the dark arts of football, and that's what you want to see. I want to see a team that can play two ways. I want to see a team that's smart, that's also not just smart, but also tough. And I've always thought that South African teams generally, from the national team to the PSL teams, compared to our African counterparts, the more or less the North Africans, West Africans, and to a certain degree nowadays, East Africans, Central Africans, we're soft. We're soft and we're not tough. They're tough. And you want to beat them, you got to be tough as them. You can't beat the schoolyard bully by being, oh no, hello, how are you? No, you got to go up and make noise and show him, I'm here to fight. And that's what Sundowns did on Saturday. They showed the world that they're going to fight. Even if they lose the tournament, I think they gained so much on Saturday that they should be confident going forward. I don't think they'll win the tournament. I have to be honest with that. It's too early for me to predict, and I don't like predictions anyway. I always get them wrong. But they showed something to me. They showed a dark side of them that I actually enjoyed watching. Now, to end the video off, I need to say this, and I need to mouth off. The level of disrespect that Coach Pitso Mosimane receives from this country, to me, is an absolute joke. I'm not saying he's always right. I don't see him as, a god or anything. And no one to me is immune to criticism or disrespect or whatever you call it. No matter how great you are. In fact, the greater you are, the more you are exposed to the public eye. But Sundowns management has been an absolute disgrace towards Pitso since he left. I need to go back. I don't want to spend too much time on this. A few years ago, 10 years ago, let's be exact, Sundowns were mediocre. They were buying all these expensive players, they were buying all these expensive coaches. There was no accountability in the club, there was no structure for winning, there was no philosophy of play, there was nothing. It was just money being spent on this coach, on that coach. Every good player gets bought into Sundowns. Then Pitso Mosimane walks in, he holds players accountable, he brings a breathalyzer to training so the players can, get their alcohol level tested in the morning before walking into the training complex. He has these rules, and the club changes into a professional setup. And they start dominating and start winning cups, and they start becoming all this thing. Now, Pitso's not perfect. No human being is perfect. But he deserves respect for what he changed Sundowns to. Without Pitso Mosimane, there's no Sundowns Al Ahly game and all the success that Sundowns supporters have had the pleasure of enjoying. So I wonder, why is there such constant disrespect towards him since he left? Last year, they came to play the quarterfinal. Fans lined up. Fans aren't allowed at the stadium nowadays. But they lined up outside the stadiums with placards swearing at your greatest coach of all time. Why? Then the club released a disgraceful statement apologizing to Al Ahly, not to Coach Pitso directly, to Al Ahly. And then there was also the club suing Pitso for millions and millions of rands because he breached contract when he left. Look, whatever all of that nonsense is, it really, really needs to stop. I'm not saying it's going to happen again, but on Saturday there were some comments it's handbags, it's part of football. But there were some comments I felt, hey, why is Mangola saying all of that about Pitso? Because he said something about they keep saying Pitso keeps saying this is his team, so I suppose it's a win for him, which is nice and funny, a bit of tongue in cheek, a bit of banter. I like that. No, everybody likes that. But it's not necessary, honestly, because I think we should give Coach Pitso some respect. He put South African football, in my opinion, put Sundowns on continental football. And to a certain degree, helped South African football, whose reputation has been floundering for the past 15 to 20 years. He kind of helped put South African football back on the map by showing that, hey, man, we still have good players, good teams, good coaches right here. And he's been doing well at Al Ahly. I don't understand this disrespect that it's always been thrown at him from Sundowns' perspective. I can take it from rival fans. Or, if Chiefs fans or Chiefs, whoever say something about Pitso that's not nice, that's normal. I mean, I don't expect nice things from people who don't support the same team. But why then are the Sundowns supporters hating Pitso so much? I'm confused. Why is Sundowns last year in the previous Sundowns management also? Why are they showing so much disrespect and hate towards Coach Pitso? I'm trying to figure that out. I'm really, really, really super confused. I don't normally get confused, but I'm super, super confused at this. And I'm very actually hurt and angry at it because I feel like without Pitso, we're not talking the stuff. There's no video about Sundowns and Al Ahly. I won't spend time on this. Sundowns were mediocre, as I said, absolutely mediocre before Pitso walked in. Why? I mean, Sundowns now is doing documentaries on YouTube for. They did one for Teko Modise. There's a supporter they did one for. They want to do one for Dennis Oyango. Hopefully, whenever they release a new series of these YouTube videos, they better do one on Pitso. It better be an hour long. By the way, since the marketing team at Sundowns feels they need to do to how praise their own old players and supporters and all that, well, might as well give your greatest coach of all time a nice full video, 1 hour video of himself. By the way, but anyway, that's it. I don't want to get into all of that. Now I'm going to mouth both about this, but I felt that I needed to mention that I don't understand what's happening. I don't like what's happening, and I think it needs to be sorted out because it's really, really wrong and disgraceful that your greatest coach, someone who gave you about 6 league titles in his time there, and he gave you a triple, got you there to the CAF Champions League, won the CAF Champions League, and he's not respected by you. No way, man. I'm not happy about that. Sundowns supporters, if you're watching this, please, man, tell me what the problem is. Educate me. Why do we hate Pitso? Why do y'all hate Pitso, man? Not we, but why you guys hate Pitso, man? Why? It's been a pleasure. Catch me again next week with the latest episode.